We're already?
Yes, we're there.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Yes, hello.
Good afternoon or good evening, good morning.
Guten Abend.
Middle of the night, we're here.
We are here. BoB 19.
BoB 19.
No, 19, isn't it?
Yeah, 19,
You
yeah.
remember that? Paul Hardcastle.
What, the
It was a
bands?
big number one.
Really?
No, 19.
No, I don't remember.
No?
I think I was probably about 19
It was the
months.
average age of an American serviceman who died in Vietnam.
Okay.
And he did maybe sort of early mid-80s.
Yeah.
Mind you were just a twinkle then, weren't you?
Mid-80s. I was not alive.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that's made me feel very old because it's quite a modern record, that. So, BoB 19.
BoB 19.
We have a different couch.
We are. We're
We've
delirious.
decided to sort out the lighting in here.
Yeah,
We're
tried
still
our
in
best.
Saltaire, though.
We are.
Yes.
With Victoria Mills.
On the hottest day of the year.
So far, yes. Sweltering away.
Yeah, so what have you been up to this week, Sci-Fi the Poetry Guy?
Well, I've been doing all sorts. I've just come from a care home, actually, doing a bit of poetry.
Soon be back in there,
I'm
then. Doing a
never
bit of
leave.
poetry?
Yeah, doing a bit of poetry for the residents, which has been
Nice
good.
one.
Yes.
And do you get inspiration when you're in the care homes or something, or?
Well, I ask for inspiration, so I go around and speak with the residents and family members if they're there, and ask them for inspiration. So, talking to them about their lives. I did one about a review of the care home today.
Oh,
I asked
excellent.
one guy if, what he wanted a poem about, and he just went,
His surroundings.
his surroundings.
Because they're so important, aren't they? Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. No, they are. People's end of life or near end of life, where they are, how comfortable they are. It really does make a difference. Sending in a poet, that'll make all the difference.
Well, you know what? I feel it does personally. Yeah.
I think it does too.
Yeah.
For what it matters.
Yeah, people like to be heard.
So, BoB 19. For those of you who have missed the previous 18, shame on you.
How could you? Where have you been?
Where have you been?
Got this massive
BoBers Unite, where are you? Well, the previous 18 essentially have followed exactly the same format.
Yes.
4 squares make a slice, 4 squares are 4
A
subjects.
slice of Battenberg is a
Neither
show.
of us know what each other's subjects are. We generally bring 2 each. But in this case, and for the last couple of weeks, since BoB 17, which seems quite a while ago now,
It does.
we're arguing one of the squares for and against. And our sound engineer, would you like to give us a little shout, sound engineer?
Hi.
Hello, Jessica. BoB Jessica is the sound engineer today.
She is.
Kirsty's
Yes,
also
right
set
there,
it all up, so
she's
thank
too
you to
hot now.
Kirsty and thank you to Jessica. For and against, Jessica has brought the for and against subject.
She has.
So, all in all,
I'm again dismayed that you're taking the, well, this time you're
I'm in favour.
You're 4.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Oh, we'll see. We will see. You've been a little lightweight on this square so far. I have to say.
I feel like I've lost 2-0, so I always gone with lack of preparation again.
But I've probably gained the easier side of this one's argument as well. So, Pride of Poetry, what's your first square this BoB 19?
My first square is actually from Bob and Kirsty.
Oh, excellent.
It's
Excellent.
habits.
Habits?
Yes.
Nuns?
No, not those kind
Nasty?
of habits. Although we could talk about the habits that you wear, or do we all wear our habits, do we not?
Do we?
Oh yes, I mean it's
It's a bit warm in this weather, mine.
Yes, I mean, well, habits in general, difficult to break, potentially. Difficult
That type
to
of habit,
do.
okay.
Well, it could be bad or good habits. We all have both, I presume. I know I've got both.
Oh God, I've got both. I've got both, that's for sure. Bad habits and good habits, I suppose.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yes, I think so. I'd be very surprised. I hope someone's got nothing but bad habits. That'd be horrendous. And someone who's not got nothing but good habits, again, I don't think they exist.
Well, that would be the perfect human being, wouldn't it?
It would be.
And that person has never existed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we've got close, the pair of us, but...
Oh, Jesus Christ. I am distancing myself from that comment immediately.
Well, that's because you're less close to perfection, obviously. As you get older into the second generation, yes.
And maybe that's one of your habits there, Richard. Of
modesty.
Yeah, I was going to put an "im" on the front of that.
But modesty. Yeah. Well, yeah, habits. I mean, I think I am. I don't think I have many habits.
Okay.
I'm generally fairly free flowing. Yeah. I have certain things I have to do, but in between, I try not to have too many plans because they tend to clutter me up.
Yes, I've found this.
If I know exactly what I'm going to do, it tends to become a big thing and a big conglomeration of things I have to do. So I try and stay away from that.
Yes, and in the present, in the moment, and it's part of being pragmatic as well. You could say,
yeah, do things as they come up rather than necessarily when they should. And I'm not as good at that as I'd like to think I am or would like to be.
Absolutely, yeah.
So improving on my bad habits would definitely be a New Year's resolution. That's for sure.
You know, I got into a habit recently, or trying to get into it, of having 4 days of discipline and 3 days of free flowing.
I wondered what the scars were.
That went straight over my head.
4 days of discipline. No, sorry, discipline came into my mind in a slightly different way.
I see what you're saying now.
It was sort of
penance.
Bend over, Sarah. Yes.
Yeah, more on the lines of doing exercise, getting up, having a ritual in the morning of meditation and yoga, and eating well, and turning up for work.
Well, you've managed to do that this week, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, only just though, that's the thing. So yeah, I'm still working on it, but that's I'm trying to find a balance between the discipline and structure, and then giving myself those free flowing days. Because I'm like you, if I had that entire rest of my life planned out to the minute, I'd rather not know about it and probably just do one.
Absolutely. So what are your bad habits?
Oh, bad habits.
Come on, pray tell.
Pray tell. I mean, I've probably got a few kind of probably unnecessary burping and farting. I think there's. I mean, are there bodily functions?
Oh, I'm going to say, is that a bad habit?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh, actually,
I've got. I do have a bad habit. I believe comes back to planning, about double booking myself and not referring to my diary and saying yes to things before I can actually commit to them properly. That's probably a bad habit of mine.
Yes,
that annoys people that like to plan and plan.
Do you think that's a man thing?
I don't know.
Because I'm not very good at that either.
Yeah.
Nobody would say that I was particularly well organised.
Mm.
So our sound engineers were making noises at me. Do we need to speak up a little? Okay.
Why
You're only
is
sat over there. All
Is
right,
that-
for the recording purposes. Okay, we'll try our best. We'll try our best, okay?
Good.
Thank you, sound engineer. Yeah, man, I think planning is certainly something that is a bad habit for most people. And breaking that plan when you say you're going to do something when you don't.
Yeah.
I find myself quite disappointed in myself sometimes when, I've said I'm going to do something and then something else has come along and it's sort of thrown those plans out the window, if you like. And then I've not gone back to it.
That's it.
And that's the discipline perhaps you're talking about.
Yeah, and I find myself getting annoyed at the person that I've made plans with potentially for wanting to keep those, as if it's their fault and it's actually my bad time management.
Yes.
Which is not good.
No. Do you have any good habits?
Oh, good habits.
I think you have.
I'd probably like to say I'm good at I'm good at feeding people. I think that's a good habit. I'm pretty generous on the whole.
You're fairly well groomed.
Yes, I shower enough, I believe.
most every day.
Yeah, I mean I do take a break from that because over showering is a thing I'm against.
Over showering?
Yes.
Is it?
I think showering every day is unnecessary.
You know, wear away or dissolve or something.
Well, it takes all the richness and nutrients and the oils out of your skin.
Is it?
Yeah. And of course,
I
it's
thought there was
water
various products that we have nowadays. I thought they basically added to your skin.
But why take away what you've intaken through food and potentially moisturise it? You're just ripping it out to put it back in again. Why not just keep it in?
I thought you were basically taking the toxins off your skin. Which
Not
generally are the smelly bits.
Well, you are, but with that it comes potentially taking away the natural oils of your skin as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
In your hair and all.
So other habits. I mean, the nun's habit is certainly one. I mean, if you've not had, I mean, I should imagine they're really struggling in their wimples in this weather.
I bet
I think that's what they call it, isn't it? Isn't it a wimple? Bobbers will have to tell me.
I don't know. Are there any bad
it's the
habits
big-
out there? I wonder if there's any bad or good habits that our bobbies would be willing to share with us.
I'm blooming sure they've got bad habits, that lot. Some of the crowd that turn up to see us. You went sat at the front out here and you're just watching, they're scratching their heads. I remember one
Not
guy,
blinking.
I remember Leafwing,
Leaf wing.
yeah, smashing his teaspoon against his cup all the way through.
And he's breathing.
That was
How
what,
daring.
breathing, yes.
Breathing heavily.
Yes, he bent down in front of the microphone and decided to breathe for 20 minutes.
Well, you know, that might have been something else.
Fortunately, we've got Kirsty and Jessica on the sound, so hopefully we should be alright.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what habits? Habits, I guess, is something that we all have, and they can be like creature comforts, can't they? As I say,
Yes.
even if we're in bad habits, we tend to stick with them because, as a whole, we don't like change. And even if we've got bad habits, we're certainly not as annoyed with ourselves of our bad habits as we are other people's on the whole. We can tolerate our own bad habits
Oh, absolutely.
far more than we can tolerate other people's.
Yeah.
It's,
When you start farting, I'm not going to be happy. I start farting, I'm okay. About
you couldn't care less. Exactly. And that's the way toenail clippings. Yeah,
Oh,
who
no,
cares
no,
about your
no,
own
no,
toenails?
no, no,
They
no.
don't, but other people.
That's a bad one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Things in the bed as well, like toast.
Oh yeah, crumbs in the bed.
I'm not happy with toast in the bed.
No, keep
No.
it out. Yes, absolutely. That's
So
not a
bad
good habit.
habits kind of come between you and the relationship of somebody else.
Yes, I mean I had a bad habit about dealing with stress through weed and oversleeping. Trying to sleep too much was a very bad habit of mine and behaviour, I guess. That I'm thankfully putting out.
Yeah.
No, and it makes me grumpy. If I try and sleep too much and my brain's like, no, you need to get up, but I'm like, I don't want to get up because I don't like the world today. It's that I just feel grumpy and it ruins the rest of my day. And doesn't matter what I do, I'm always going to feel groggy, and that's a bad habit, which I'm not.
But it's also about the patterns of your life, isn't it? So if you do something habitually, it can be both good or bad from your perspective, but also it's both good and bad from everybody else's perspective around you. So whatever you're putting out as a persona and whatever habits you are showing to the world, essentially forms their impression of you. And that's based on whether or not they're comfortable with how your behaviour is as well. So good habits and bad habits are different to every single person.
Yeah.
I think tolerance is a big thing as well. And certainly if somebody does something time and over again, it does become something that at start is a little thing, but then becomes a big thing.
It
and
can
perhaps
do, yes.
can be quite destructive in that.
Yes, it's interesting, like habits, when you talk about if you live with your parents or you live with people,
Yeah.
and if you just go and visit them, and they've got a bad habit, but you only see it when you go and visit, you don't really care that much. But if you start living with that person and you continue to see that bad habit, then it starts to grate, doesn't it? And that little thing that's like leaving a spoon, like people like they make a cup of tea and they'll leave a spoon out on the side. And so you see that and you're like,
I mean,
it happens every day.
How thought.
I know, it's scruffy, isn't it? But it's like, but people do that and it's not a big deal. But if you see it every day, like, bastards done it again.
Yeah. And you tend to overreact in those circumstances as well, because you probably should have said something right at the beginning. And because you haven't, it's built up inside you, it becomes pent up, and becomes an issue. Yeah.
So habits.
Habits. Good
Thank
habits,
you,
bad habits.
Bob Kirsty for that one.
Thank you, Bob Kirsty. She's gone outside, it's too hot.
It is too hot.
You go outside on a hot day, to cool down. Anyway, she has. Nice one. So, are we going to do the for and against square now?
We could do.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm ready. I can get myself.
And it's Bob and Jessica's one.
It is.
And you are against.
Bob and Jessica. I am against.
So side-price against, and Mr. Sleek is for this week. And we tend to swap that over. So in the last three, we've had me for Donald Trump, against tuna mayonnaise, and now for... Do you want to shout out, Jessica?
Dogs!
Dogs.
Dogs, yes. You're for dogs, aren't you?
Have we got anything to say on dogs?
I mean, really, I should take at least a foot, 2-3 foot back from you at this point because you're obviously flea ridden. That would be my first.
Flea ridden?
Yes.
Oh God, no. If Luna had a flea at our house, Luna being our black Labrador.
Yeah.
If Luna had a flea, it would essentially, before it's hit the ground, be treated by Reg.
Okay.
The house is treated. The dog is treated. The dog has something in terms of pills, something in terms of sprays. The house has a spray.
Yeah.
So there's no fleas on us, I'll tell you.
Alright, fair enough.
The only fleas in this relationship have come from other places.
Right, okay. So, right, your dog's hygienic, but we're not going to take Luna as an example. But dogs in general, I would argue, are stupid.
Stupid?
Yeah, they are stupid, yeah.
That's a bit patronising, isn't it? To the canine world.
Well, yes, but I mean, what do they have? I mean, you could argue they've got emotional intelligence, but that's not enough.
Oh, a dog has definitely got emotional intelligence.
You give a dog a calculator and ask it to add 25 plus even 10. Keep it simple. It can't do it.
Really?
Stupid, yeah.
My dog, the other day on a calculator, put 43770 on the calculator. And I had no idea what the dog was trying to tell me until I turned it upside down.
Right, okay. See, I'd say that was just by accident.
I just think, dude, he came out, hello.
Hello, yeah.
I then gave the calculator back to the dog.
Well, that must be an incredibly intelligent dog.
Because she's Romanian.
Well, alright.
She's Romanian.
Okay.
Yeah. So she speaks at least 2 languages.
Right, so she's from just about the EU.
She's very, very nicely trained.
Yeah.
She's very friendly.
Trained. You have to put time and energy into a dog, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. There's no doubt about that. And me and Jessica have been back to sort of spend some time with Luna a little bit, didn't we, Jessica? And she's very pleased to see us because dogs at this moment in time on today just can't go out. So yeah.
I think my biggest, and I will obviously let you a chance to give your so-called argument for dogs.
So cool.
Yes. What I'd say, it's really, if we get right to the bones of this, pardon the dog reference there to bones, and what's that about, to be honest? Come on. Is that actually, go on. I'll link this in. So you literally throw a dog a bone, don't you?
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons I think that humans intrinsically love dogs, it seems, and that is because they get a feeling of superiority over the dog. This master dog is a man's best friend, or essentially man's best slave. It's a codependent relationship whereby the human, on the other hand, gets to feel better about itself.
You don't think the dogs have any benefit in this?
Oh, I think they do, but could you not argue that servants get benefits in serving their master?
I would.
I think
I'm very in favour of being nice to my butler.
Well, exactly, but the relationship in a hierarchical sense is still there. Which, if we all really think that equality amongst everything, not just humans, but the whole existence of everything is to be upheld, then this mastery over dogs. I mean, you put them on a lead, for God's sake. Tie them up. You put something around their neck and tell them to sit.
Not necessarily around their neck.
What kind of a way is that to treat something?
So essentially, are you saying that to keep dogs is cruel?
I think it's not necessarily cruel, but I think there is a potential. What seems to be kind is actually just somebody getting to play emperor with one living species, one living thing. So they get to be king of something.
Okay. For me, having a dog and owning a dog is a responsibility.
Property.
It is a property, absolutely, because dogs don't find it that easy to get on the property ladder.
Because they're stupid.
Because they're stupid. Dogs is dogs. Dogs have wonderful characteristics. Our dog, for example, is beautifully friendly. Whenever you come through the door, I warn her off every time, tell her that you're not the bloke that you seem to be. But she's always friendly to you. She always comes up to you and goes, sad boy, sad boy, sad boy. Like that. Isn't she?
Because she thinks I might have a bone in my pocket.
No, she's just been friendly. Just genuine and friendly. And having a dog around essentially is a brightener of the atmosphere. It's also company. Not just for you, but also for the dog. There's no doubt about that. And in terms of the way in which a dog works, in terms of its mind, a dog is a pack animal. And it assimilates itself within your pack, if you like. So if me and Jessica are at home, or Rachel's at home, or whatever, there'll be a hierarchy in the dog's mind as to A, who's going to feed her, B, who's going to stroke her, C, who's going to play with her, and D, who's probably going to take her out. Now, sometimes those are one and the same person. Certainly Rach takes a lion's share of that. But I do too. And also the kids love to come and see Luna. And it's a fun thing. It's something that gives everybody a sense of pleasure.
What about...
And therefore, what's wrong with that?
Well...
There's nearly 20 million dogs in the UK.
Yeah.
20 million?
A lot of them are inbred.
What, the owners or the dogs?
Save that for another square. What I would bring up is the fact that a couple of weeks ago, Luna, this so-called majestic queen of all dogs,
Oh, I wouldn't put her up there now.
Was rolling around in a rotten rat.
Wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, well, dogs do that.
Yeah.
If there's something smelly, they will roll in it.
Exactly.
Well, that's just a dog being a dog. That's an
a
endearing
dog being
thing.
a dog, and then you've got
it wasn't an
smelly
endearing
rotten
thing for
rat
Rach, who
so
basically took her over to the hose pipe and basically just hose piped her down. But what can you do? That's what dogs do.
Well, if you've got that attitude, then what can you do about anything?
Ooh, well, there you go. We are a nation of dog lovers. A nation of dog lovers. We have a long relationship, of symbiotic relationship, ever since the first caveman threw a bone from his fire to entice a dog in to share his fire and basically cuddle up to him.
Begging, tramping, scrounging dogs that don't do anything for themselves.
They're brilliant, the dogs. Guard dogs?
They whimper.
They whimper. I must admit, Luna's not a great guard dog because she's a crap barker. But Kai was a much better barker.
He was a pussy.
Well, he was, but he was a much better barker, and he kind of fooled people in that regard. And he's now put the pub and he's doing a good job up there. So that's something.
Okay.
But in terms of dogs, they also get you out and about. You don't need to exercise them. So there is a symbiotic thing there where it benefits both the dog and you. I mean, you could take a dog out twice a day for a walk or whatever, and it's doing you good. It's getting you out in the open air.
Going out to pick up someone else's shit is doing you good.
Well, that's a byproduct, and it's not a problem, for goodness sake. You've got these little bags, you just basically turn them inside out, give them a quick wink, and off you go.
There's plenty of things I'd rather do other than pick up someone else's shit.
Well, I would agree with that. I would agree there's plenty of things I'd rather do. But the benefits of having a dog and that wonderful... When a dog looks at you... Rabies?
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, ours has had the rabies shot, so you're alright then.
Came
in from Romania.
Alright then, expensive vet bills.
Expensive vet bills, plan ahead. Get yourself some pet insurance right from the start. Not too bad, and in terms of the scheme of things as to what things are going to cost you, a dog is a pretty cheap thing, in general. The interesting thing is there are so many different types of dogs. So for whatever personality you have, I mean, for you, I would sort of say, you've got a certain amount of vanity and so on, and you sort of lounge about a bit. I'd go the sort of Afghan hound with you. They say dogs look like their owners. I mean, what sort of dog would you... perhaps a bulldog for me or whatever, or a staffy or whatever. But I don't think I'm a Labrador man. But what are you? If you were to have a dog,
I know. I wouldn't.
What dogs have you ever had?
Well, I haven't had any.
No, you know.
I'm allergic to them.
So you've said this. There's
Yeah,
no boils appeared whenever
This is
you come to
exactly what
us.
everyone's like, oh, it doesn't exist. Oh, you're just putting it on. Why the hell would I want to put on my face getting swollen and sneezing 300 times a minute?
Well, I
What
wouldn't. I
benefit
can't
would I
really.
have with that?
So yeah, for those people who are allergic to dogs, here's some advice from Bob.
No,
don't
from Mr.
get
Sleek.
one.
From Mr. Sleek.
Don't get a dog if you're allergic.
Right, dogs. I think, dogs' dinner. It's a terrible dinner. We make them eat from the
It's a
floor.
dog's life.
It's a dog's life. I mean, doggy style, maybe. I'll give you that one.
Oh well, so you're giving me that one, are you?
I'll give
that
you-
one.
I'll
You're
give
giving
you
me doggy style,
I'll
are
give
you?
you doggy style, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think we should crack on to the next square.
Do you?
But I think I got that one. That's 2-1.
I think
I'm
you
gonna
can.
give myself-
Well, I to be honest, I've got my preparation to come yet if you want it. But no, I'll
Oh,
let you have
blimey.
it.
You're going to have your argument.
No, if you
I don't
think you've got your pedigree
I think I've
argument,
got it.
Sean.
Oh, he was one letter P off me, absolutely smashing his face.
So,
Fine,
okay.
fine.
For and against dogs, I am for dogs. I'm generally in favour of everything that they do for us. They're also working dogs. They're important to our ecology. They're important to our economy. And they're important to our emotional well-being.
Right. How many dogs work for HSBC?
What?
Oh, well, actually, HSBC aren't very good for our economy, so that's a
No,
terrible
I'm going to say. Well, I mean, there's obviously, there's obviously the insurance company one. What's that? Churchill.
Oh, Churchill.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
You see?
Yeah.
Voiceover work.
He's a yes dog.
Yes, dog.
Yeah.
I always thought that was Vic Reeves, by the way.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't.
No.
It never has been. It's Bob Mortimer.
Oh, is it?
Apparently, yeah.
Well, that's not
He
too
says,
far
he
off.
says it's paid for 3 houses.
Bloody hell. That's terrific. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So, yes, indeed. Right. So,
So,
dogs.
what's your second square?
My second square, I thought I was going to have to blag this one, which I kind of am anyway, I'm not going to lie. Because I did my maths wrong with this one. So you were like, I hope you've got 2. And I was like, oh yeah. But we both included the dogs one, which only makes 3, doesn't it? So I do have one. And this is about right questions.
Right question.
Yes. So you ask me on the show pretty much all the time, which is a perfectly valid question. It's like, so what have you been up to this week? And I always in my head struggle with it. And I've been thinking, why do I struggle with it? And I think it's because if people ask me, how are you? How are you doing? Because I'm quite an emotional and feeler type, I access my memories and everything about me really through feelings.
Yeah.
So if you say,
Me too.
how are you doing? Then I say, I'm doing alright, I'm doing this has happened, that'll happen. If you ask me, what have I done? It's a very practical thing. And my brain doesn't work in that way. Therefore I struggle to reel things off in that way. So the right questions for people, how different questions will allow people to open up or in a way
So open and closed question.
Well, that's part of the right question, but relay information, but people access it in different ways, and the way in which you access that information is through asking the right questions for people, depending on their personality type.
Well, I'm going to ask the right question here. Do you think you've got that one across to people? Because I'm not quite sure what a right question is. A right question to me is one that is pertinent to the situation. I mean, you don't suddenly ask in the middle of tea time or whatever, how's that boil on the back of your neck or whatever,
Yes.
I mean, asking the right thing at the right time, the timing of it, would be what a right question might be. But also, in order to get to the nub of what you're curious about. I mean, the type of question that I asked earlier on, obviously when I ask you, are you all right? What have you been up to, and so on. I'm not really interested.
And that's fine. That's a different debate. But
if I ask, what have you been doing with the money, as far as there's a point there, it's like
yes. No, well, yes, that's. I don't know. I think the right questions that they're vital in order for you to understand somebody and to learn about them. You have to talk to them in the right way, don't you? I guess. And obviously, you're just asking. It's just a bit of small talk at the beginning.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter who says it to me. I struggle with what have you been doing? As everybody says, how are you doing? but I'd give the answer.
So you'd
to
much
how
rather
you
be
do
told,
it.
asked how are you doing rather than
Yeah.
what have you been doing?
Yeah, it doesn't matter
Does
to
one
me.
will lead on to the other?
Yes, I mean, because what I've done will, for me, affect how I am. And how I am is the most important thing to me. It's not what I've done.
Okay. That's very self-centered, isn't it? I'm not being. That's not a criticism, but it is. It's sort of very self-oriented.
Well, yeah, in those circumstances it is, yeah.
How you feel is the most important question that you want somebody to ask you.
No,
so
no,
would
no.
that be the right question to ask
I'm
you?
I'm not saying in this what I think people should ask me. God forbid, it doesn't matter. People don't have to ask me anything. I'm not expecting there to be a list of questions that are most important to ask. I'm just simply making the point that I believe there are different ways in which you can get the right things out of people, like Parkinson, for example. You know, he was a famous interviewer. Will have had different interviewing techniques depending on who he was speaking to.
Sir Michael.
Yes, Sir Michael.
Yeah.
And that's really what good interviewing is, isn't it? Or good fact finding is you relate to people in different ways.
And yet his form of interviewing would probably not be that popular nowadays. And if you go back and watch Parkinson or any of the great interviews, he's almost sycophantic.
Yeah.
He has his favourite guests, and he also is quite flirty and flighty with any female guests, and there's some quite difficult to watch interviews with some of the major stars. I think one of them was with Meryl Streep, and really it's sort of like, what are you doing, dear? You know, how's your acting career going? With a bit of a sort of glint about him, as if he was sort of chatting her up almost. And I think good questions from a good interviewer are essentially show an interest in the individual, not in how they look, how they're presenting, but how they think and feel, as you rightly say.
Yeah.
And probably interviewing, especially chat showing interviewing, has come on quite a long way. You've got, having said that, Parkinson was a serious interviewer. His guests were the funny ones. Nowadays, you seem to have chat show guests for chat show hosts like Graham Norton, like Jonathan Ross, who essentially, it's their show.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Kimmel in the States, or The Late Show, Letterman, or whatever. They all have their monologues where they are the star of the show, if you like. Whereas Parkinson never had that.
No, he gave them space to unravel themselves, didn't he? Essentially, yeah.
Good Yorkshire lad as well, Parky.
Oh, he was an actor
From Barnsley.
Yes.
I believe, if I'm not wrong, he was at school with Dickie Bird.
Dickie Bird. Yes, I could believe that. They're the same era.
Who now has a stand named after him at Yorkshire Cricket.
Yeah.
Or is it a clock? I think Dickie has actually bought his own clock or something at Headingley and had it named after him. But no.
Yeah.
So the right questions. What's the wrong questions then? Are the wrong questions rude and impertinent? Are they?
Yes, I think. Well, usually the wrong questions are usually asked in the wrong way, aren't they? And that could be through tonality rather than what you're actually asking.
So it's how you ask.
It can be, yes, I guess so. I don't know what the wrong questions are. I think it's too fickle, but you open and close questions you talk about. So, is it, instead of a question shouldn't presume an answer, should it? When you say, if something's bothering someone, you say, is it the bin that's bothering you? They can only say yes or no. So you can only get information on the bin being the answer. If you say what's bothering you, then that actually gives them the opportunity to say exactly what's bothering them.
Oh, it does.
So,
yeah.
So open questions where you're not presuming the answers are probably the right one. Yeah, that's
It's
when
when
we already
start a conversation, which is what we try and do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the right questions start the conversation.
And sincere questions as well, when you're genuinely wanting to know an answer, rather than, as you do at the start of the show, just ask me because you don't care about me.
I do really.
That's fine.
Oh.
No, but asking sincere questions without having the answer already in your head, what you think the answer should be. Yes, that's another way.
Yeah, often you ask a question knowing what you want to hear, don't you?
Yes, and that's usually going to infuriate you and the person. Well, you're not going to listen to an answer, are you, if you're not genuinely asking a question. You're just like, so what's up with you then? And you're like, well, you could even ask it as an open question, but you're thinking about, what's up with you is, or really you're just saying, I'm pissed off with you for being pissed off. I don't know, something like that.
Does this happen a lot to you? I mean, is there other questions you'd like me to ask you?
No, you're putting me down the vain path here, and not at all. I'm not asking for the right questions for me. No. As I said,
Is this about language then? Is it about how people express themselves and they could actually, with a little thought and perhaps a slightly different way of approaching things, actually get a much more out of it?
Well, I think, in all honesty, I think if I've got any agenda in this, is that I don't feel that people ask seriously how people are enough. It's very easy, especially for blokes. You say, so what have you done? What have you done? Because that's a manly thing. Men do, don't they? They just do stuff and they don't give a flying hoo-ha about how they feel about it. Because God forbid they have emotion. So it's like, I've done this. And it's like, okay. But it's like, how are you? Like, how are you? That's an immediate.
That is a difficult question for most men. Yeah, it is.
And for some women as well.
And they're just going to go, I'm read.
Yeah, I'm alright. Why are you asking? As if because you're immediately asking for someone to be vulnerable with you, and actually, if you're asking it sincerely, you are asking for them to give you a window into them.
So if it's an opening gambit, how are you? You probably, that's exactly what it is, an opening gambit. But if after a while you sort of say, so how is this affecting you? Are you okay? Is it something that you want to talk about? Is a much more different way of saying how are you, if you like, and gives many more opportunities for people to say exactly how they feel.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? Obviously, if you say to someone you just see him in the pub or whatever, you're like, how are you? You're not expecting to go on for 20 minutes about the trials and tribulations of their life. But for me personally, I've got no problem with saying I'm not good. If they're not good, I don't expect them to give a flippant answer.
No. I mean, there are three different ways of looking at it from a humanistic perspective of counselling. I did counselling for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And in those circumstances, there are the three main approaches, if you like, to get that information from somebody and to get their own self to the surface, if you like, so that they can understand more and perhaps deal with some more of their bad habits, if you like. And the first one is Carl Rogers, and Carl Rogers famously made a film that was, I think, 18 hours long. And in that film, Carl Rogers didn't say anything. And I think the person who came to see him was called Gloria. And Gloria had lots of issues and was full of angst and anger about all sorts of things. And in the first greeting, if you like, Carl Rogers just goes, would you like to sit there? And she says yes, and then he gives himself a real open stance and says, right, would you like to start? And then he just sits there and he doesn't actually say anything. But he creates a rapport with his body language. He asks the questions without asking the questions because he is of the belief that every single answer to all of those questions is within us already.
Yeah.
So it's purely and simply about understanding it. You've then got Egan, which is the blue sky thinking and making lists as to answering that question, if you like, how are you? Well, actually, I'm this, and this, and it will take this, and this to get to where I'd like to be. And finally, there's the sort of gestaltist way of doing it, which is to sort of point out exactly what is wrong with somebody in order to bring a reaction, if you like, and to sort of kick-start the conversation, if you like.
Yeah.
So Jessica over there at the moment is essentially flopping over there on the couch like jelly because it's too busy. And I would say to Jessica, so you like that, are you? Because when I feel like that, that's how I look. I look like a jellyfish hanging over the end of the couch. And, it starts that conversation. It's made you grin.
Yeah,
But it's also made you realise exactly how you are portraying yourselves to others. So there are different ways of starting a conversation.
Yeah, and I don't think questions, they don't have to be fair, necessarily. They can just be as you say, quite provocative. I was listening to a radio...
Gestalt is especially provocative and deliberately so.
Yes, about columnists. They had, what's her name? they had Matthew Parris, famous columnist. They had Janet Street Porter.
Nelson.
No, they had the wife of Michael Gove. I can't remember her name, but she's also an opinion writer.
Okay.
And they were talking about their styles of column writing and how a lot of them are deliberately provocative, and they might ask questions or give arguments that aren't necessarily seen as fair, or they might not even be valid, but they take a side, a bit like we do with For and Against, and they run with it, and they look to niggle in order to start that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. That's banter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's banter, and it's part of, as you say, niggling people into their opinion about something potentially.
I mean, it's the Chairman Mao thing, isn't it? The more times you say something to somebody, the more likely that they are to believe it. And that's certainly a tune that's going out more and more in the various polarising and divisive arguments of the world at this moment in time. On the grounds, if you push something hard enough, time and time again, whether it be the newspapers with migration and the amount of austerity, whatever it is, essentially people start to believe something if you tell them it's enough time, because they kind of give up.
Yeah.
They kind of give up their objections because they can't be bothered any longer. And it's almost the survival of the fittest and the survival of the strongest or the strongest willed.
Yeah.
And that's not really a way to start a conversation or to resolve anything.
No. Last thing I say about questions, or the right questions, is you talk about them, the right ones at the right time. I went on this, it was called something like Reasons for Change, or how to use conversations for change, and using the counselling approach. When you've got someone in your life where they've got a problem and you want to see it from their point of view, but also help them figure it out. It's not to do the instinctual thing and give them advice, but ask them things. So what do you think about this, or what do you want to do? I think a great question, you use it quite often, is so what do you want to do about it? What do you think we should do? Get to the thing about, okay, you've said all this, we've said all this has happened, but what needs to happen now?
Absolutely.
In order to get to the next step instead of talking about it. And that for me is a priceless question. Okay, so what do you want to do? It's a great question that needs to be
asked. What's your resolution?
Yeah. What's the next step?
Because then you can come to a consensus, you can come to a compromise, or, God help us nowadays, the amount of times I see people who struggle to change their views. I've got to say that anything that has gone on in the last 18 shows here, or any opinions that we've given and so on, I reserve the right to change.
Yeah,
because I'm at a certain time of life. Just don't start. I'm at a certain time of life, and I've learned a lot of stuff, but I've also still learning on a day-to-day basis. And if you're still learning and really want to learn and certainly want to improve and self-evolve, then you have to be prepared to, on occasions, put whole swathes of your belief system behind you in order to move on. For sake of argument, you might believe that the world is round and that the world is flat, rather, and all of a sudden you go up in an aeroplane or up in a rocket and you look back on the Earth and there it is. It's not flat at all, it's a globe.
Yeah.
I mean, the clue should be in the classroom in the first place, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
But those flat earthers, if you like, when given irrefutable, some of them still will say, no, it's still flat.
What you've talked about before with entrenchment, or it's ego, it's not letting go. If you're happy, everyone gets things wrong, don't they? And it reserves the right to change stuff. Hopefully not every day of the week, otherwise that's impossible.
Some people seem to be able to get things wrong more of the time, though, don't they?
Yes, I mean, some people do get things wrong, and that can be through past bad experiences of stuff. It can be for all sorts of reasons, and they'll project their past onto the future or the present and think that the old things are happening again just because they've happened before. Doesn't mean they're going to happen again. But that's what a lot of people do. I think it's what we all do. It's culture, isn't it? It's learning. It's how we shortcut in our minds. It's how immigration services work. They talk about, if terrorists blow something up, the next person who looks like a terrorist that walks through an airport they're going to be. You assume that they're going to be more.
They're in danger just because somebody else has been. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got a situation. Right questions, yeah. I mean, when you look at that type of approach, I mean, in the week that Boris Johnson has become our Prime Minister, God forbid that would have ever happened, but it has. You've got somebody who self-evidently makes an enormous amount of mistakes. And in those circumstances, I hope that we can see through that, but I get the feeling he'll be trusted by them and he'll actually be held to account by his mistakes and his thing. We've got Jim in the kitchen here. Jim, yeah. We're recording here, mate. Please could we have a little bit of quiet, mate? Well, it was a waste of time because you're rubbish at it.
Diva sleep over it.
I couldn't think. It's funny, isn't it, when we're doing a recording or whatever, and if you don't say what you think, whatever, then it's okay. I mean, Jim, yeah, absolutely. Right. But it's right questions, yeah.
I think, should we have our third square?
Our fourth square.
Our fourth square.
Our fourth square.
Your square.
Yes. Well, it's the most pertinent one we could possibly have because Jim has just gone past with some ice cream, which I know is. I'm quite happy for you to get the ice cream, Jim. But it's the heat. Hot. My hot. Fourth square is hot. In this country, we probably only have about 10 hot days a year. Would you say that's right, Jim? Would you say 10?
Yeah.
10, yeah?
About 10 days.
And we probably have about...
10 worst fucking days in the world.
10 worst? You complain the other 355 saying it's freezing.
I'd rather be cold.
You'd rather be cold?
Yeah.
And yet we only have about 10 really cold.
When it's bloody hot like this, you can't cool your fucking self down, can you?
Debatable.
Live in a freaking park or something for 10 days.
Cold. For a man who lived in the woods for 3 months. That's true. Now, there are about 10 days in this country where it's really cold and snowy and sort of up below freezing throughout the day.
Yeah.
And there's 10 days of the year when it's really hot like this.
Mm.
The difference about today and the difference about the heat that is manifesting itself all over the world at this moment in time is that it is heat that hasn't been seen for many, 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 many thousands of years.
Really?
This type of heat is the hottest that we've ever had since records began.
They said that
so
last year.
So today we have just hit 35.9 degrees centigrade in Yorkshire. 35.9 degrees.
Bloody hell.
35. My daughter's melting over there. I came in with a shirt. Jim's irascible and he's sweating and he's got no clothes on.
Kirsty's knocked out.
Kirsty's knocked out. I mean, personally,
it's hot.
I love it. But even I, when I get to this sort of levels of temperature, I start to struggle. Yeah. And the reason for that is when you get close to that equilibrium with your body temperature, which is 37.4, all of a sudden your body's panicking like mad.
Mm.
Your body, your head, your functions, everything that makes you function is being affected because there is a survival issue going on here. Mm. Jessica fell asleep in the car coming down, and it must have been 35, 36 because my aircon's gone. And we had the windows open, we got stuck down on Canal Road in Bradford, and it was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. We go back to dogs. Do not walk your dogs today, people. Don't even think it. Don't even think about it. If you're walking your dogs in temperatures that are above about 22 degrees centigrade, you're putting their lives in danger. If you've got a big dog, or a shaggy dog, or a dog that essentially is on the older side, bring that down to probably about 16, 17 degrees centigrade.
If you can't put your hand on the ground, then a dog can't walk on it.
Well, this is true. Yeah, absolutely. And if you put your hand on the ground out there at the moment, my shoes are sticking to the tarmac. Now, we're looking at 35.9 degrees centigrade in Yorkshire. At this moment in time, it looks like in this country we're going to break an all-time heat record today.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to hit, in various parts of the southeast, they're going to hit 40 degrees centigrade.
Wow.
This is England. This is
England.
Northern Hemisphere. Now, I know we're warmed by the Gulf Stream and so on, but essentially, this is out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And if there are still any climate change doubters, on days like today when the records are going, or beasts from the east, or the storms the other night, what climate change means is climate chaos.
I was literally screaming out Armageddon in the streets just a minute ago.
Well, I'm getting an ice cream as well. Yay! But the heat is just ridiculous. And it's something that's going to get worse and worse. It's not going to get any better now unless we start to reverse the effect that man has had on climate. And that effect is only about 2-3%, which is why it's so easy for those who have vested interests in fossil fuels and so on to deny climate change.
Absolutely, climate
Because it's only
change.
2-3%. But it's that tipping point.
I mean,
it's these records that prove that.
Yeah. I didn't realise it was the hottest day of the year. I mean, I knew records were broken in France, weren't they? Not too long ago, just last week, wasn't it? Where it was like 42 or something.
It got up to 45.
45. And
45?
that is hot. Personally, I like the heat. I mean,
That's desert temperatures.
Yeah, I know. And I prefer the heat than the cold. In all honesty, for me, I've got old warmer blood in me, so I think I prefer it. It does me good, and the light I like. I like being cool, like having a cold shower and feeling really fresh, than having to heat myself up because I get tired of the cold. So yeah, it is hot, and I definitely agree. All the cars and the pollution that we're ignoring is no good for the planet.
It certainly isn't.
I'm glad for the summer.
So hot. I love the heat. Jim, you're not a fan.
I don't mind it. I mean, I prefer to be warm
Yeah.
than cold. But
I'm
not
not
as it
sure we're
is
going to be
now.
able to hear you on the recording.
It's just
Well,
too
this
much.
is
It's
just
just too much. Yeah. It'll be picked up on this one. It'll be
Okay,
picked
fair
up on
enough.
this one. Jessica, you're more. Do you like it when it's more hot or cold?
Hot.
You like it when. I think you're saying this because it's a really hot day, and that today you'd really like to stand in front of an open freezer or something. But
Aw.
personally, I've always enjoyed a balance of the two. I like my winters cold,
Yeah.
cold and crisp. What I don't like is these long. This
Drudging.
last winter was sort of damp and pretty cold all the time, and it were bloody miserable. What I wanted was a good snowfall. We didn't really have one this last year. The year before we had bucket loads, but last year we didn't have much snowfall. But what we had, even though we didn't have much snowfall or really severe weather, was still a downward spiral in terms of temperature for very short periods of time, which actually meant that the overall temperature of Britain over that period still went up. And it is that rising of temperature that is affecting all the ecology. Who's noticed that there ain't many insects this year?
Yeah, there isn't that many. I've been noticing.
No,
I've
I've
ants.
extraordinary. I had my window open last night, fully open, light on next to the window, not a single moth, not a single insect. That's a bloody worry. 65% now of all species and all wildlife that existed in 1970 no longer exists.
Yeah, there's bee populations are screwed as well, aren't they? It is a massive worry.
Yeah, and I think people who are actively doing something about this, they're derided by the press. They're derided by almost their peers for whatever they do wrong. Now, some of the things that they've been sort of lampooned for is leaving litter behind, for example, and I'm completely against that. But in terms of doing something about it, keeping bees, recycling all your stuff, using less petrol, using less fumes, burning less things. All these things are so important. We can all take personal responsibility for them.
Yeah.
And I think they come to a head in my head when we get days like this.
Yes, the problem is it's going to take a massive lifestyle change for anyone, because it's all well and good, I get the climate change thing, and I don't say much, and I may come across a little smug or what have you, but it's like everyone talks about it, and yet we're still out in our cars, we're still going we're going in the supermarket, buying all the packaged stuff, buying meat that's coming from New Zealand. We got to stop doing it. We have to stop doing it. It's got to be the small changes that we all do.
Make an effort.
Make an effort.
A first step.
Yeah, But it's all well and good talking about it, but actually engaging with it and doing something within your life, even though it's a small thing. What else can we do? We can't lobby BP, really. Nobody can get a seat on the board of BP and say, let's change policy and start going into solar energy instead. We can't do that, but we can stop buying huge quantities of meat, because that's within our control, and we can start shopping locally or using the car less or doing lots of things that are within our control. Flushing the toilet.
The toilet.
I maybe this is a bad habit, maybe not, but like peeing, I'll pee in the toilet, but then I won't, you know, if it's brown, flush it down, if it's yellow, let it yellow. And I know you've got the same policy as far as I'm aware of people that...
No, it's obviously you, yeah. But that's the first step.
But that's the first step. Imagine if
step.
Everybody, for example, didn't flush it when they just went for a piss. That's millions of flushes a day that we can stop. That's thousands of litres of water, millions of litres of water a year that we could stop having to put through the cleansing, sterilising cycle that water goes through. If we all did that, then that would be a start.
It certainly would. So that first step.
Maybe cool the planet down so we don't need to be so sweaty.
So bad habits.
With
4 dogs.
Against dogs. Right questions.
We've asked the right questions.
And
we're suffering in the heat.
Here we are. Well, I'm enjoying it a little bit. But...
So I think that's probably our 4 squares, is it? We probably just have a slice.
We do.
Or a pint.
All
a nice ice cold pint.
Beer. That's got to be
cold
one
beer.
good thing about the heat. You get a cold beer.
Cold beer tastes
Enjoy
much
it.
better in the heat.
It does.
So inside Pie the Poet again.
Mr. Sleek.
Thank you very much. 4 squares make a slice.
We do.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jessica, our sound engineer. Thank you, Kirsten.
Yes.
And for setting us all up. And
till the next time.
We'll see you when we're 20.
If we haven't melted away.
If we haven't melted away.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Oh, wow. God, it's hot, isn't it? It is boiling. Oh.